Welcome to the Out on a Limb podcast. We are all interconnected to a greater web of consciousness. Our aim is to open your mind to a new world through having open-minded discussions about what we perceive our reality to be.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Out on a Limb podcast with your hosts Samantha and Allison and Will.
Hello.
I wanted to say welcome or welcome back because a lot of you guys are faithful.
That's true.
Oh, okay.
And watch every week. Thank you. And
You're
comment.
right.
We appreciate that.
We do.
Mm-hmm. So welcome back. And welcome
back.
to the new ones, the new people.
That's right.
Yeah.
All three of you. No, just kidding.
Hey. Anyway, we're growing.
We are.
We're slowly growing.
That's right.
As you guys share and spread the word and people find us through this crazy algorithm, whatever that
We're
even
like a redwood. It might take you 1,000 years, but we're going to get there.
Well, regardless, we're going to sit here and speak our truth.
because we're having fun. It is fun. This is so much fun. This is our third one today.
It is.
We had two fantastic guests that are
Yes.
going to come your way soon. So be on the lookout for those.
Well,
Shall
depends
we-
on where we air this one. So that might be after or before. I don't know.
There's always going to be two more guests.
Oh, that's
Know
true.
that.
And I'll
There'll
tell
be
you,
another two.
we set the goal of having amazing guests for 2024, and I think we have.
We're
Don't you guys?
we're hitting it out of the park, I
I
think.
think we've stepped it up a big notch. Yes. All right. Well, today
Thank you, Allison. She does a great job lining these people up.
I try. You send some my way too, though. All right. Today we're going to talk about mystical creatures.
Not mythological.
Right. We
Just
did
wanted to clear that up.
cryptids and mythological creatures, but this time mystical. We alluded to this in a previous podcast, probably that will air. Hopefully, has aired prior to this one.
Yeah.
That there are other creatures out there that are, well, we didn't say multidimensional, it's interdimensional. Is that the word?
To me, it feels like it's interdimensional. And it was a tough thing because when we were talking about cryptids and all that kind of stuff, we kept bumping up against all what
Right.
you would think of as mystical, the ones that are included more like, not in the Scooby-Doo mysteries, but the ones that are more like, in the fanciful tales
Right.
that
like
kind of
unicorns,
thing.
and
Harry Potter
dragons.
stuff.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
more mystical.
And so whether they are extra dimensional or interdimensional or
I think
intradimensional.
interdimensional just came on the scene recently. I think people just really started
Like
talking.
the intranet.
Well, yeah, I guess you could say it that way. But I mean, just through other podcasts and people bringing up the term intradimensional, I think that's kind of where it's kind of come about.
So
But
they
really,
basically can function within a couple of different dimensions.
to me, it's still all multidimensional. I mean,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
True.
And so
Where we're saying cryptids really are like nobody quite knows. It's hearsay for the most part.
Right. Are they
And-
even?
And they're in this dimension,
Right.
supposedly. It's not like they're going between. No one's ever talked about them really
Right.
going between.
Right.
Except for when I brought up Bigfoot, which is interdimensional.
Right.
But I wouldn't say he's mystical.
Well, and we say mystical because I don't think they're mythological. I don't think it's a myth. I think they're real. And we have had clients who have seen them.
Yes.
We've had higher selves talk about them. You've seen some. So these actually exist in our understing, not to
Yeah.
everybody, but in our understanding, they actually exist. They're not a myth.
Like I've never
So they're
touched
mystical.
upon, a Mothman or something like that.
Right,
But I
right.
sure as hell have experienced other beings.
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what beings are we talking about? We're talking about that unicorn, the dragon. It is the year of the dragon, by the way.
Ooh.
Fairies, gnomes,
Sprites.
sprites.
Brownies, but I think brownies are an old way of saying
Fairies and stuff.
Gnomes.
sprites.
Or
Sprites or gnomes. I'm not sure.
I had never heard that until you had
that-
said
I've never
browns.
heard that either. No.
I was a brownie at boarding school. You were either a spider or a brownie, and I was a
Oh,
brownie.
really?
Wow.
Yeah. We had to wear brown tunics.
But that doesn't have anything to do with the Girl Scout brownies?
No.
Oh, see,
No,
I was a
but
Girl
see,
Scout
there is
brownie.
the Girl Scout brownie too. So think about that. That is it's not a pixie-like creature, but it's not a gnome. It's definitely not a gnome. It's more like a sprite or something.
Interesting.
But that's interesting that in your boarding school they had
That is.
these two categories.
And spiders were spiders.
Right.
Spider,
oh, they had spiders? I thought you said
and
sprites.
spiders were green. No, they were spiders. Spiders or brownies. It was weird.
Spiders or brownies? That is a bizarre. They don't
That
even.
is-
They're not
yeah.
even the same.
Sprites
kinda-
would have made sense. Yes.
Right.
So obviously they don't know anything.
One thing if you have lions and tigers or something.
And bears, oh my.
Okay. So we're going to tell you some stories about some of the interactions that we've had with these beings. Now,
As we understand them to be.
right, one of the ones that I thought we would include in this category, but maybe not, and I always called him a Terra being, Terra, meaning he's kind of the earth, on the earth plane more, fourth dimensional kind of
Yeah.
thing, is Echo. He is, his name is Echo.
His
He's on
affectionate name is Echo.
What?
Shut up.
It's an echo. Get
Oh
it?
my God. Okay. That's why we keep you around, Samantha.
My friends, I had a cat named Echo. My friends would do
I know
that to
you
me
did.
all the time. They would
that's funny.
always, yeah. Okay.
Now I got it.
I'm
Okay.
satisfied.
Anyway, his name is Echo, and he was described as a kind of a troll-like figure,
Yes.
shortish, hairy. And the first person that saw him, I think we talked about him on the show before, saw him on our back deck, back porch, walking back and forth,
Like,
which is kind of wild, right?
Yeah.
And I think she got a little startled
she did.
until
It was when before we had this beautiful space, we were doing a lot of our work out of our house, out of our living room.
Right.
And during one of my monthly channeling sessions, this friend of ours who sat in the audience, very intuitive, sensed it and was a little skeeved, I guess you'd be the word.
skeeved, because a little startled.
Yeah.
That's kind of creeped out.
Yeah,
Skeeved.
yeah. She was a little creeped out at first, but then,
She didn't sense any bad energy from it.
no, just sense that he was on the property and that he was walking back and forth on the porch just to kind of keep an eye on things around the
Right.
house.
And they
right?
do that a lot.
Yeah.
And that was neat. That was kind of reassuring.
Right. Then our friend Judy, who
You
we've
can
seen on
watch
the
her podcast episode.
yeah, you've seen her on the podcast before. She was spending the night here and had an interaction, I believe, with Echo.
I think she was just floating in the pool. And when you're in water, that's a good place to start getting intuitive information. So she was just floating in the pool, and we were talking about Echo, and all of a sudden information was coming through her about Echo, and he was just saying hello, and that he was here to watch our property and all of this. And so I would, again, ask her, Judy, questions, and it would cause the information to come in from Echo. So that was neat. So I don't know if
So Echo's kind of like Dobby, a house elf, except he's a property
a
elf.
house elf, I've never heard
I've
of
never
that.
heard
Well,
of
have you
house
seen
elf.
Harry Potter?
No.
No.
God, you guys.
I'm just,
I'm sorry. That is just.
oh my
I mean,
gosh.
I can't say no.
No wonder you don't
have.
understand my use of the word muggle. Like, it's
No, I
just-
understand that. No,
A lot
I've-
of people have adopted that word.
I have watched it, but not paid full attention to it because I just
We
wasn't.
have to get into the stories a little bit to meet Dobby. But anyway,
As close, wait,
But I know
as
who
close
I
to-
know who it is. I mean, I know the image. So yes.
The closest I've been to Harry Potter is going to Universal Studios and going to the Harry Potter area
Wasn't it
and having a butterbeer and riding the ride. And I think Evan bought this really neat, because he was a little
Little
kid then,
wand, little
a
thing.
wand in a box. Really nice.
oh
Yeah.
my God. Well, but yeah, I mean, because like house elves, you generally have a house elf who looks over the property or whatever. So it's the same concept,
So
you
then,
know,
yeah.
where it's usually.
that might be it then. Maybe that's what he is a house elf. You know, he's
Or
you know,
property elf, like and it tends to be of that variety. Just tell me if this is what she ends up telling you, what she
Right.
has said to you. But like they're usually solitary. They're like,
Yes, he's
they're on their
solitary,
own,
yeah.
taking-
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because I asked him if he interacts with all the other sprites and fairies and all the other things that are out in the yard. And he said they know of each other and they communicate, but no, he's not like in charge of them or they don't work together per se. So
Yeah.
yeah, you're exactly right.
Cool.
Interesting.
But I don't know if that would be considered a mystical creature or where that would fall. I always just called him a Terra being. But at any rate,
But well, yeah, I mean, here we go, like labels.
Right.
We can
Right.
describe him by the energy or the frequency
Yes.
that he puts out there, which is that solitary being who is watching out for stuff.
but if you guys out there know of what this kind of group of beings is typically called, if there's a category for it, let us know because I'm not familiar. We just call them mystical creatures. All right, so dragons are a big deal lately.
Oh yeah.
I just had a client who, just the other day, I had a client who had a dragon as a guide, and I asked at the end of the session, are there
cool.
any guides that wanted to speak through her during a hypnosis session? And her higher self said, there's a dragon here, a big black dragon that followed her here and offers protection for her. So that was neat. And I also
Wow.
And a matter of fact, this is in one of the, if you guys wanted to go back and listen to the YouTube monthly channelings, a couple of months ago, I was informed that I have a small dragon, a baby dragon.
Longer than a couple months ago.
Was it?
Yeah.
And then also our friend Alex,
Yes.
in one of the channeling sessions, had a whitish, I think, dragon. So a lot of people are having dragons as guides right now, and I don't know if it's because it's the year of the dragon,
Well, I
or
mean,
because of where we're headed, or
I had in my Reiki 1 or 2, my Reiki 1 attunement. Yes.
gosh, and that would have been back in 2016, I think.
16-ish. I had a big red dragon that came in the corner of the room and kind of swirled around and then went out the other.
Cool.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool.
Dragons are usually good omens, good protectors, good guides. A lot of times a dragon will take my client, like when we first begin the hypnosis session, they'll get on a dragon and the dragon will take them to wherever they need to go, whether that's another planet or another reality or whatever. So that's kind of neat.
But think about it, like they are kind of that thing that is almost like, I don't know why I'm saying this, so maybe this is just like coming through or something, but it's like they are, they're portals unto themselves almost. You
Yeah,
know?
I think so.
Like,
Yeah.
think about that, you know, you.
I think you're right.
And maybe it's not necessarily that you've got to ride one, but just in the very act of being with one,
Right.
I think you step
in
into
the
a different
presence of it.
space. Yeah, I just think there's something, again, which is why we're saying mystical. You know, it's that.
For
That's a
many
good
of,
point.
and for many of you watching or listening, you may have, have had your own experience or have way more experience with dragons. Please let us know more about them in
I'm
the
sure they
comments.
have had a lot of
I want
experience.
a
A lot of
dragon
people have.
experience. I'm just putting that out there.
You don't have one yet?
Not that I can recall.
Oh,
Yeah,
maybe we can ask. I bet you do have one.
that would be very cool.
We'll ask.
we're
don't let me
lining up
forget.
all these. That would be fun. Okay, so
So
with the
dragons
dragon.
are one thing.
And I love, and I have to say, I love that it's the year of the dragon, and there's a lot of people, at least in my Facebook algorithm, that put out the most beautiful pictures. It's like you take dragons
Oh,
and
like the
unicorns,
AI, like the AI pictures or just regular, just whatever they find?
whatever, yeah,
Interesting.
whatever, or maybe some AI, but they're just like, those two categories can put out the most, like the artists are so inspired and the images
yeah.
evoke so much emotion,
Yeah.
especially with dragons. I love it.
That's true.
Oh,
There are a lot of dragon aficionados out there, I think, and also with Dungeons and Dragons back in the day. And so there's always been a part of humanity that had been fascinated
Well, I
with
mean,
those. Yeah.
what's the kid movie back in the 80s?
Oh, right, where he was riding the dragon.
Yeah, what was the name of that one?
was
I
that
can't think
kid's
of the
name?
name of that now.
Artuo.
No.
Artul
Was
or
it
whatever.
called Something in the Dragon or something?
Never ending story.
Thank
you
you,
go.
that's it.
But they made
Nice.
the dragon look so friendly.
Well, they did.
Aren't they
Then,
friendly?
but then they were,
Fluffy
yeah,
dragon.
he was kind of, he
had
was-
fur.
Yeah, he had fur and
Then there's
a smile. on his face.
70s Puff the Magic Dragon, but I don't think they were talking about
No, they were not.
Thank you for bringing that up. No, my daughter's and my favorite story is Aragon. Like that gave us, have you not? Oh, there's a movie on that too. No, that's a really, and there's like, this kid
Aragon?
wrote this story when he started it when he was 15.
Oh, yeah, I remember you telling me.
And it just like, it resonated so deeply. I was like, this has to be somewhere in truth, like the info. I mean, maybe the story is fictional, but there's something there that is so deep. And, and it's like you take a, whether it's Game of Thrones or The Hobbit or whatever, but everyone, there's a lore
Yeah,
of, I think that's again with mystical beings, there's this lore that it's like you can't really step outside of it because it doesn't resonate. It feels so wrong. Like you're not going to make a 10-foot gnome, unless
right,
he's
they have to
gotten
be
with
small.
an Agarthan. Are they the tall ones? Or are they? Some weird
don't
thing
know.
would have had to happen to have a
Right.
10-foot gnome. But you just, there are certain things that you just stay within and it just feels wrong if you do anything different.
Yeah, that makes sense. The other interesting thing I want to say about dragons is that I think I've alluded to that. I'm reading the Sophia Code, and the 8 divine ascended masters in that book refer to themselves as the Sophia Dragon Tribe. Sophia,
really?
Sophia being the female god, the female half of Source, So that's really neat. So there's something about dragons and dragon energy coming in now, particularly. Excuse me.
Yeah.
So that's why we're addressing it. If you guys have stories about that, let us know, because that's fascinating. Or be on the lookout for that. Maybe a dragon wants to come your way.
That would be so cool.
All right. We were talking about this prior to taping about the characteristics of these beings.
Yes.
That they tend to be clever. They tend to be helpful, but they can also be tricksters.
Mischievous.
Right? Do you have any stories about that? About tricksters coming in?
Well, I'm trying to think about. I'm just going to say this real quick because it keeps going out in my mind. There was a movie when I was younger. I think I was a kid when it came out, but it was the story about the kids who maybe they got lost in the wood. It's a British thing, and they were out in the woods and they were kept safe because of woodland.
It sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah. And then they go and they tell their parents and it gets out and the media comes and they're trying to prove and they're trying to now, disprove what the kids were saying and stuff. If anyone remembers what that is, please put the title down there. But it was and that was kind of my first introduction. Like once I watched that, you could say, leprechauns and all this kind of stuff. And I didn't really attach with that. Once I saw this movie, all of a sudden I was like, no, they really saw that. Like it resonated. All of a sudden it was that like a whole other dimension opened up to me. And I'm and that was part of when I was younger and I just accepted things. Like it was like, oh, this makes sense. Part of my weirdness.
I mean, growing up where I grew up in Wisconsin, we would take field trips to, I can't remember the name of the town. It escapes me, but it's a it was founded by Scandinavians, and the Scandinavian lore is gnomes and trolls. Well, there's a lot of wineries in the area, so that
I remember that. You took me there,
so
I
the
think.
trolls are the ones that stand outside of the doors of the storage house for the wine, to protect the wine. And the gnomes are the ones that are kind of the mischievous ones that will play with the trolls to, try to get them away from the door. And so there's a whole story behind it, a whole lore behind it. So, so a lot of the trolls and the troll aspect and gnome aspect come from the Scandinavian, lore, lineage, and it's interesting because you'll see, as you're driving into town, they have these big, all different sizes of different trolls that are made out of like broom straw and stuff like this, and they're all decorated up, and it's quite interesting. It's quite fascinating.
That is neat.
Well, and I keep, so what's been interesting is we've talked about this. I keep using words, and I'm not using them interchangeably. It's that it's not right. Like you're talking about the Scandinavians and how they have this lore. And I know that there are these little creatures. I don't know if you say sprites or elves. I don't know. I keep trying to assign a name and I'm not getting the right name. But I know that they're like, heads high. But so I had an incident where my daughter and I went out to this property out in the middle of South Carolina. And this woman, she had a barn, and so she had horses. And then there was a road, and then there was property next to it that they had bought. And they had fashioned a little riding trail through this one part of the woods. And she was saying how the horses, get freaked out and everything. And actually, she hadn't told us that yet. We started walking through there because we were feeling out the property because this is when the whole vortex thing happened.
Yeah. Right.
So she had this vortex on our property. And so we were walking around wide open, being as sensitive as possible to any other things going on. And we started along this path, and she said it was a horse path. And my daughter and I kind of look at each other and we're like, do you feel that? And it was that sort of, like we're going to mess with you kind of feeling, and it wasn't scary, but the moment we stepped into the space, we were like, we're on ground we're not supposed to be on. Like we both could sense it. And we were just like, it's like if they could come out and just kind of go at you, they would. And so we're feeling it out. And I'm like, this is someone else's property. They've had it longer than you, and for a long, long time. And you like the story just rolls out. It's like this information comes through, and I'm like, you haven't. It's not that you have to. They don't see it as you've taken it from them, but you're not honoring their existence on it, and they exist in an interdimensional space. So it's not like you're going to see their little homes and all that kind of stuff, because they're in a different space. But they have homes here. They have this isn't like I didn't use the word village, but it's a community.
Wow.
And I'm feeling it out. My daughter goes, "Oh my God, all you have to do is put down some objects for them. Like they just want to be honored, to be, like for you to say, yes, we recognize, validated is the word I'm looking for."
Wow.
And so we started talking about it, and we're to figure out what they needed. And, and they're letting us know, we want, shiny, glittery things, pretty things, know. So a rock would not do. A crystal that has facets would do. Or like some kind, not a copper penny, but like a quarter, things that were shiny. And we're like, you just need to kind of come out here and just let them know, hey, thank you for allowing us to go across your land. Yeah, peace be with you, kind of thing. And just kind of some things set them down with honor, but other things, smaller things, just kind of glitter along the path.
Sprinkle them all,
Yeah, and we could feel this. And she goes, "Oh my God, that's so interesting." We said, "Why?" And she said, "Because this is where the horses, they kind of hesitate and they kind of spook a little bit. And we didn't understand what was going on." And she goes, "And what's really interesting is that this leads to another tract of land, which we are going to clear out to make like a pasture." And I'm like, all of a sudden I could feel it. And I'm like, "Oh, no.
No, you're not.
I said, "Yeah." I'm like, "You're going to be in for major happenings if you do that." I said, "There's no problem with you clearing the land." And I'm feeling it out. And I'm like, "Nope, they're cool with you clearing the land, but you have to validate. You have to talk to them. You have to explain this is how you're going to use it in your space, and that you honor that, it might represent differently in theirs." And I'm like, I don't even know what I'm saying with all this. But she was so good at embracing what I was saying. And also it was resonating. There was co-experiences she was having
That's
that
amazing.
related to that.
I love
So all I know, like about as tall as that, and just not like gnome creatures, not like, the big heads. They were more proportional. So that's why I think, I don't know, sprites or something. It was just really cool. Yeah.
As you were talking, I realized my friend Suzanne has these. I'm calling you out.
Ooh.
We should have gotten these they're like pointy fairy ears. Have you heard of them?
They're dwarf ears.
Or dwarf ears or whatever. Yes. I was looking at you thinking it would be so
Fairy
cute
ears,
if we could
dwarf
see.
If I suddenly did the dwarf
Yeah.
ears.
That would have been really, we should have all put those on for this episode.
my
Oh, God, no.
Gosh.
I'll stay with what I've got, thanks.
Maybe you can put them on after the fact as little effects.
Yeah.
You can figure that out.
Yep.
I don't
Figure
know.
it out, Will. Make it happen. Make it so.
So speaking of that, fairies and sprites, I had a client the other day who is building a new home, and I asked her higher self during hypnosis session if there's anything that her higher self needed her to know about this home or energetics or what to do. And if there were beings there on the property, and they said, you will come into contact with some fairies and sprites. And the higher self said, of course, to connect with the energy of the trees, because this particular person was moving from a water-based location into the woods kind of thing. And so they said, connect. And she was a little bit sad about leaving the water, but they said, you're going to make new friends on your property, new friends in the trees and things like that, but also new friends in fairies and sprites that are there.
Interesting.
So that was neat, right?
See, I think a lot of them, it has to do with nature. Like it's,
Oh, yeah.
it's.
Well, I think a lot of that has come from and again, I'm not seeped in all of this, but my understanding is a lot of the fairy, the sprites, and all of that have come from the pagan aspect of understanding, because they honor the
nature.
wilderness and nature and all that, and so it's a relationship that they build with those that protect nature and
Maybe that's what these are
all
called,
that,
not mystical, but nature beings. I don't know.
Yeah, that could probably be, like you say that, and I don't know where I've seen this, but all of a sudden I see a creature that's, that again is about a foot tall, maybe a little bit taller, and has ivy wrapped around them. I don't know who
Oh.
that is, but I can just see them.
It's not the Keebler elf. It's
No, definitely not. No, it's like very alabaster skin, and I can see ivy wrapped around. And it just,
And when you tune into that being, do you get a name of what it wants to be called?
see, now you put me on the spot.
right. No pressure.
Nothing popped in.
Yeah, no, nothing popped in right
It's
away.
hard on the spot.
And there is a, and
It was
again,
very cool.
there is a movie, and I mean, I
Is
won't
it a
say,
dumb movie? Is that what you're saying?
I won't say it's a good movie. It's a movie, but it's got Will Smith, and I believe it's called Sprite or something, or
Really?
Anyway, it has to do with elves, sprites, and fairies.
I was about to say
Really?
there's
Right,
Elf with
right.
Will
Well,
Ferrell.
Will Smith is a cop in LA. This is futuristic LA, and his partner is an elf, and there's a big rivalry between elves and sprites.
Yeah, it sounds kind of
Right.
stupid.
So
It's anthropomorphizing.
yes.
elves and fairies
Oh,
or
yeah.
something. I don't-
Absolutely.
I
So
don't-
there's a whole like complexity.
That's
to it.
interesting. Will Smith has done quite a few of those kind of odd.
It's not a child's movie. Let's just put it that way.
Oh,
So it gets a little
sweary elves.
Naughty elves,
warring elves. How about that?
warring
And
elves.
elves and fairies and sprites. Yes.
That is so
Yes,
strange.
Yes. But it's
But no stranger than what we're talking about.
Exactly.
It's like,
Exactly.
what's your bar for strange? So I had a client who they were trying to buy a piece of property, and there was a problem. And I won't go into detail because I don't want to like say too much with it. But they were trying to buy this piece of property, and they had to wait for certain things to happen, and they were worried that there was attached property next to it, and they were worried that the family who was on the attached part, apparently it was no, it wasn't part of their property. What they were doing was they live next door. She's asking me, can you read about if we're going to, energetically, are we going to get this property? And I'm like, okay, so the people next door, this is interesting. Okay. So did you know that there are, I guess they're fairies, or there's, like these creatures living there on the lot? And I'm like, you stopped by and you did something that they liked. I said, and I'm like, and I'm just remembering this. As I'm
Wow,
telling you.
wow.
I'm like, you threw in a couple of crystals. And she looks at me and she goes, yeah. She had thrown crystals in just to get the property
Yeah.
to like her, not realizing, not thinking that there were beings there.
Right.
Just it was
Wow.
more like, if I throw my crystal with this intention,
Right.
then this property will be linked to me. But
Yep.
she wasn't thinking in terms of, and I said, so you've thrown that down. I get
That's
goosebumps
wild.
now. And she's like, and so I said, what's really interesting about this is they like you. Because they really don't like these other people. Because what they've been doing is they've been using this lot as their trash.
Oh, wow.
And I said, and I was feeling it out, and I said, God, I'm trying to remember. I don't remember this specifically. I can't remember if I said they were throwing chicken bones into the property, or if it's that they were doing like roots.
Ritual.
Yeah,
Yeah,
ritual
rituals.
kind of things. And I think it was the ritual thing, but I can't quite remember. But I know that they were using the property in a negative way. So I'm pretty certain it was the ritual thing. And I'm like, so you've put the intent to get this property, and these beings
Yeah.
very much want you to have the property. Not that they want you to build on it, but they understand. And so there's a specific placement of where they want you to put the house. And she's going, oh, this is going to be interesting. I said, why? And she goes, because we've drawn up plans for the house. And I
Yeah.
said, and she said, and we were very specific about where we put it. And I'm like, okay, let me tell you first what I'm getting, and then you can, share
Cooperate,
the,
yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, she had the paper with her
Yeah,
because
yeah,
she's
yeah.
asking about this property. And so I explained to her, it has to be on this corner of the property. I said, leave this space open. You can do a garage back here. She goes, well, we want to have a gathering area. And I said, well, you can do the gathering area towards the center of it, but there's a part over here that you have to leave for them. And then she shows me the map, and it's exactly what she did.
Wow.
Like she was like, we were going to put it over here, and it didn't feel right.
Yeah.
And I kept trying to go, no, let's put it over here. And we were like, nope, we got to put it over here,
Yeah.
So it was just fantastically cool. But she had made some kind of a connection already. And I'm like, keep doing that,
Keep doing
because
that, yeah.
I don't know how much they can in what way
Influence.
they can,
Right.
help you influence. That's a good way to put it. But there's something there where they would rather have you there than an unknown now.
Right.
So that was fun.
That's wild. Isn't there also something that you can bury? What is it that you bury upside down?
Saint
to
Joseph.
Saint Joseph.
Okay.
So this Saint Joseph, not exactly a mythical creature,
Why
but
would you want to bury him upside down?
I don't know. I just heard that rumor.
I don't really know the purpose of burying upside
I think
down.
that's more of a Catholic thing, I think.
No.
No?
No, it's a real estate thing.
Is it really?
I
Yeah.
don't
if you
think the
wanna sell
Catholics
it-
like you turning Saint Joseph upside down. And
Yeah.
burying him.
Oh, sorry, I don't
No,
know.
I mean, I've told people, I'm like, just if you can't get a statue, just print out a picture.
Yeah.
And put it in a Ziploc bag and bury it.
Wow.
You know, and I didn't say upside down, just bury it. And what I've learned is because when people do that, when they go to that effort, their intention really is, now I'm ready to sell. So it's a permission slip. But how does that relate with these guys?
I'm just thinking about the land and what all you can do with the land.
Oh,
and
okay. Yeah. Because that's,
influencing land purchases and different things. There's so many things that go into all of that, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, yeah, I mean,
and that's actually that's a big one right there,
Yeah,
because
wow.
it's the permission slip that you're releasing and allowing. So yeah, okay, I guess what you're doing in essence is releasing your contract with the beings, that, because there's beings on every bit of land.
Sure.
Right.
But you're, and the land itself is energy,
Sure.
but you're releasing that agreement, or, you know, as
Right.
custodian, because
Right.
you never own it. It's really just custodialship and custodianship. I like that
I think
word.
it's IAL, yeah.
And so they, again, this is like one of those things that I'm like channeling as I say this, because I'm going, where the hell am I coming up
Free
with
channeling, guys, free channeling.
this? But then, so you have now released it and left it open to someone else stepping in.
Yeah,
You know,
makes sense.
you don't have to have the stories there anymore, your energy involved with it or something.
Yeah.
Well, you're free. Anytime you release something, then you're making room for the new, right? So
Exactly.
you release the energy, your energy from that, and it makes room for the new energy of the new property owner that has intersected already on their contract with
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
I always wonder what the connection with crows and the land are, because there's something there where I almost feel like crows either transform into some mystical being. There are a mystical being. There's something about crows where I feel like there's a transformation or something. Maybe somebody will know of this, but there's just some otherworldly kind of thing connected
yeah.
with crows in the land. You know, where they hang out. And
Crows we could do probably a whole episode on crows because they're amazing. They're very, very intelligent, and they have a lot of mystical and I think historically spiritual meaning and connotation behind them.
So I think I think that there is some kind of connection with them amongst all of that. It's just that we physically see them, but
Right.
I feel like they transform into something else. I don't know why I'm saying that.
Well, if you guys know, let us know because
Yeah.
we always learn something. Right?
And so is there, okay, with fairies, it was so funny. I remember watching, did you ever see, and I know you probably didn't, so I'm just going to
You're right. You're right.
True Blood?
Nope.
Yes.
That was back in the day.
Back, yes. But if you ask me to remember anything about it, no. But yes, I have.
Well, it was such a crazy series, but it was, and people say, well, the books were so much better. Well, I didn't read the books.
They always are.
But it was, I thought it was such a cool way to explain, werewolves and vampires and all this kind of stuff, and still sticking within, the known understanding of them
Yeah.
all and stuff. But the moment that Sookie realized, because she didn't know what she was, and
was
that
her
she
name?
was anything, Sookie.
Oh.
Sookie, yeah, is weird, Southern. But she found out that she was a fairy. When she found out, she's like, I'm a fucking fairy. She's just like, out of all the things she could have been, she'd been around werewolves and
Right,
vampires,
right.
and she's like,
How funny.
but it was interesting because the way they represented fairies in that was, these incredibly beautiful,
Yeah.
exotic beings that if they got pissed, sharp fangs.
Well, it's
Like-
the divine feminine. The divine feminine is nothing to mess with. They are the warrior when they need to be from that place of truth, not just to war, right?
Oh, well, that makes
but
a lot
to
more sense
stand,
now.
just like the mother aspect too, the mama bear.
Protection.
Right. So you can be tough when you need to be.
Well, and so every once in a while, I think, okay, are dragonflies, are they fairies? Like, is there some connection with fairy? And I don't know if that comes from cartoons when you're a kid.
Right.
But they have some other mystical quality to them. In fact,
Yes, they do. And there are a lot of them lately. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Everybody's seeing dragonflies lately.
tons. Well, so I was, I had to do my, grounding in the grass about a week ago. And I'm walking back into the house and there's this dragonfly flying around me. And I'd taken a picture of an especially beautiful one the week before. Like, this thing was gorgeous. And this thing's flying around and then he lands on a plant near me. And I go over and I look at him and I remember thinking, well, he's not as fancy as the other one was. He was just kind of this dirt brown, whatever, And he's just sitting there looking at me and he's doing this one leg. And I felt like the leg was like, it was during one of the solar flares things. And I thought he was kind of going, get inside, you stupid lady, get inside. Because he kept doing his leg towards the door. And I'm like, what is going on here? But anyway, so I'm looking at him and I'm just like, I just felt compelled.
Yeah.
And I put my hand out and he flies and he lands on my hand.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there looking at him going, hi. And like, I lifted him up. I'm looking at all sides of
Yeah.
him. I bring him up close. He's not, he's still
Just
doing his
chill.
little leg thing. And
Yeah.
he's just looking at me like, what's up, lady? And then he hopped off and then he hopped back on. And he was just like,
Wow.
there's something just, I don't know if it's that spirits use them to communicate with us or if there's something else going on with them.
No, I think they do, and it's interesting that you said that because depending on when this airs, there'll be some time that'll pass. But we just recently did a sound bath with participants in our pool, and it was right at sunset, and I was just wrapping up, letting everybody just kind of relax and kind of get back into their body, and I'm just slowly talking them through that, just letting them breathe and doing all that stuff. And I look up, there had been 6 or 8 dragonflies about 10 foot off the pool, just circling the pool.
Holding the space.
Just circling the pool.
They didn't show up right just till the end,
Right near
and
the
they
end.
showed up right
Yeah.
at the end,
So
and they
it's-
stayed there for quite a while.
Yeah, and one of the things I said, and as you take this next breath, just look up and take in the dragonflies.
It was amazing.
And they were just,
That was an amazing night.
Yeah,
Everything was, the weather was great, the sunset was gorgeous. Sometimes it's cloudy, but it wasn't.
yeah, it was amazing. It
And
was
the
absolutely
dragonflies.
amazing. Yeah.
Before we close, I don't know when we're going to close, but I don't want to neglect to talk about unicorns. Have you guys had experiences with unicorns?
No. No, I can't say that I have.
I haven't had a lot.
No.
I had one in a
No.
Reiki 2 meditation during the attunement.
Oh,
And I
really?
was meditating and a white unicorn popped in, which is unusual for me at that time, especially
Right.
because I don't usually see things. So that was neat.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I wonder if it's because they're horses, aspects
That's a
of
good point.
horses or
And you're a
whatever.
horse
But
person.
yeah, for me, unicorns have been like, there's some factor of them that is huge in my life. I see them. In fact, it was interesting. I was at a mall in Tampa working at some clothing place, and I remember being there after hours. We'd finally closed down. We're getting ready to walk out, and there's this guy, like, we're trying to close the metal grate, and he's standing there, and we're just like, we need to get going. And he goes, but I made this for you. And I'm like, what? And he goes, I made this for you. And he's really insistent. And
For you specifically.
yeah, and
Wow.
I have it somewhere still. But it was, he had done this charcoal drawing of this unicorn,
Wow.
and it was just like, it was stunning.
Had you seen this guy before? Like, was he a frequent customer?
No, I don't know if he just wanted, like, I gave him money, in exchange. But so I have no idea what the thing was. He might have just been like a starving artist. Let me do this. But it was so incredibly gorgeous. And then I've been given books like on unicorn paintings,
Interesting, yeah.
things like
Wow.
collections and stuff. But I know I know in dreams and stuff, I've had encounters, or maybe not even really dreams, but kind of in
Alternate reality?
Yeah.
They just kind of factor in my life somehow, and I don't really understand it. But I'm convinced that they were something that definitely walked on this earth, and I feel like they're still in a. when people talk about like, oh, a Middle Earth and that kind of stuff, and that, can
Or
get a little strange, whatever.
kind of a trans-dimensional where they're kind of in and not kind of thing.
And I
kind of
feel
in
like they
between.
just don't, maybe that's where the jackalope is. They just don't,
jackalope.
they don't
Right.
come into our space anymore because they were hunted, they were
Yeah.
abused, they were, but I believe with all my heart, like with galactics, that they exist.
Sure.
They're just not coming into this. So I wonder when, we talk about the fourth, fifth dimension.
Yeah, if they'll come back around and
Yeah.
Do you
Because how
think-
can there be a narwhal and there's
I
not
was
a
about
freaking
to say
unicorn?
that.
Right.
That's what I was about to say.
Well, and then too, it's mermaids, right? So
Yeah.
Well, that's also
we've,
part of
we've
it.
channeled about that where right now they're or they said that they were going to be coming back around.
Yeah, they are gonna
because-
come back around.
because they're going to be needed
As
again. Right.
humanity's consciousness
Evolves,
evolves,
yeah.
to be able to be okay with them.
Yeah. And they can be quite frightening creatures when they're kind of messed with and stuff, supposedly.
yeah.
But yeah, I love that all of that, and that's why, we're saying mystical and stuff, because I think that it's just a one-off or a two-off dimensional space. And I fully believe that they have, maybe they're of a higher frequency,
Right.
but I don't feel like they're all pure without,
Right, no,
some
yeah.
serious intention,
Well,
it's,
yeah.
I just feel like they're custodians of not deep down in earth, but I feel like there's a level at which they exist.
Well, it makes me think of a channeling that we did for the monthly one. You can look this up again, but there was a question asked a while back about the orcas. There have been, and I think there still are some in the news about the orcas sinking ships and stuff lately.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
just coming up and
And you don't think, yes, some people say that orcas are killer whales and that they can be deadly and blah, blah, blah. But in general, you don't think of animals as having a negative nature, wanting to hurt on purpose, right?
Yeah, it's
They're
survival.
usually higher evolved than we are, but they're hurting humans by sinking their ships and things like that. So I asked about it, and the bottom line is they need to protect themselves. They're being harvested and hunted, and their
much
territories are
disrespect.
being taken and all of this stuff. And so they said when it comes down to protection and getting your attention to save themselves, then they will do that. And so it isn't about them being nefarious for being nefarious sake, the same way that mermaids and things would not do that either.
Or
But when
sprites or
you
brownies.
threaten their very existence, or they need to give humans a wake-up call, they're capable of doing that, the same way a mother would protect their young.
right. Yeah.
So there's something to like all of this, and we haven't gone into vampires and all that kind of stuff, which would be an interesting thing to go into. I don't know where we'd go with it at all, and it's not like we're the experts on
No.
any of this. This is literally from just channelings that we've done,
Definitely
encounters that
not
we've had.
An
just
expert on this
experiences,
topic at all.
No, but it's fun to talk about it and recognize there's in some way, shape, or form there's a validity to it because we wouldn't be getting it otherwise.
Right.
Like
No, absolutely.
it's so cool.
What is
So be
the-
nice to the land around your home and honor it. And
Well, there are some guides that, again, this is getting back to the mythological piece, but there are some guides that we consider in like the Roman mythology and stuff like that to be mythical beings and not real. But they are real as a they are real as an energetic construct.
thought
They're
form?
still, yes, they're
Okay.
still an energetic. We have, yes,
Yes.
we've created an energetic
Yes.
reality and a construct, and we know what it looks like, and they will interact with us. So they have come in as guides, even though technically they haven't ever been in physicality that we know of.
Like Thor and
Right.
Poseidon or
Right.
Neptune or any of those,
Right.
Neptune and Poseidon being the same, just Greek and Roman
Right,
or
right, right.
whatever. Yeah.
So yeah, they still do
makes
exist
sense.
on some level and can be tapped into for information and guidance.
because everything is energy.
Exactly. And that's a great note to end on. Everything is energy. Everything can be communicated with. As a matter of fact, when we were first starting to do the monthly channelings, which was, I think we did it in 2019-ish
Somewhere on there.
in the house, the collective would come in and give a 15 or 20 minute lesson, basically. And they do that now. They give messages at the beginning of each channeling. But back then it was a little bit more of a lesson to teach a concept. And one of the very first topics that they taught about was communication. And they said, everything is energy and can be communicated with. The chair, whatever, the bird, the tree, the ground, everything can be, the water, humans, obviously. So yeah, that's what we've kind of learned through all of these years, is that everything can be mined for information, or it can be used to help you, it can be connected with on a level. So respect everything. Respect everything.
Yeah, and go ahead and believe. Like,
Right.
what's it going to hurt not to, like, just go ahead and believe, because stranger stuff has happened.
Oh,
And I think that's how these, what we would call superstitions, get started. Like the superstition of burying that thing in
There's
your
a
yard.
root somewhere.
It obviously helped somebody along the line. So what the heck, right?
Yep.
can't hurt.
Well, this was a lot of fun. I hope that we get some good comments about some clarification on a lot of these topics for us. Let us know. Please hit the thumbs up, because it's a big deal in terms of the algorithm. And subscribe if you haven't, if you're new. Go ahead and share it, because that also helps the algorithm and to get eyes on all of these topics, because there are a lot of topics here that are going to help people, maybe not learning necessarily about magical creatures, but a lot of the topics that we share with you guys are going to be valuable and important as we start to progress. And again, we've been telling you that the rest of 2024 is going to be wild and crazy, and people are going to need some grounding and some information. So share this with people that you think might benefit.
Keep your hands in.
Right.
What is that,
Hands
like?
inside the cart.
Yeah, until the end of the
Your head
ride.
against
Right. Right.
the headrest.
That's right.
Thank you again for joining us, though, on Out on a Limb podcast. And we really appreciate you guys. So
Yes.
until next time, we'll see you later.
See you guys.
Bye.